Assalomu alaykum barchaga. Sizni kanalda ko'rib turganimdan xursandman. Bugun sizlar bilan gaplashadigan asosiy mavzuyimiz webinar haqida, ya'ni hozirgi kunda halol aksiyalar bilan ishlab kelayotgan insonlar sifatida biz aynan kompaniyalarning halolligini, ya'ni shariat standartlariga asoslanishini ham tekshirishda turli xil ixtiloflar chiqib kelmoqda. Bugungi mavzu aynan oldindan aytib o'tishim kerak, hech qanday ixtilof yoki kimnidir targ'ib qilish maqsadida yoki kimgadir qarshi chiqish maqsadida emas, balki aynan o'zimni komandam, o'zimni birga ishlaydigan tim uchun qilingan suhbat asosida edi. Ko'plab talablarga ko'ra bu narsani ommaviy joylashga qaror qildim. Bu suhbat Shayx Abdulhadi, ya'ni Islamicly'ning CEOsi, co-founderi, 10 yildan ortiq tajribaga ega va bundan tashqari AAOIFI, ya'ni sizlar bilgan o'sha butun dunyo islom ulamolari kengashining sertifikatiga ega, ya'ni SHARIAH advisor yoki auditor sertifikati beriladi ular tomonidan. Aynan shu sertifikatga ega odam va Islamicly'ning bosh direktori deb tushunsangiz ham bo'ladi. Shu odam bilan suhbatimiz. Ozgina vaqt oladi va tarjima faqatgina subtitlelar orqali, ya'ni pastdagi yozuvlar orqali ko'rib, o'qib, o'zingizga xulosa olishingiz mumkin. Today's meeting will be the mission of the meeting today's. Throughout my career, I have been using Islamically, and I personally believe it provides the best Sharia screening based on AAOIFI standards, actually. I also know that many of today's topics and questions may already have been shared in your posts and discussions, your social medias. However, today's meeting is dedicated specifically for my Uzbek colleagues, inshallah. Okay. To understand why Islamically is superior, and today's mission, to understand why Islamically is superior compared to other screening applications such as Zoya, Musafa, and others, and why it should be our preferred choice. After this, we will go through a few questions to clarify these positions. Why I put this question for you, because in my country, especially around my colleagues and teammates, there is a doubtful question. This is a big one. Which one is correct? Like Zoya, Musafa, Islamically. I've been using your application for several years, but my other colleagues may believe another platform that yours showing the halal stuff, this stock, and another one not. That's the main problem for our trade and our choice.
Okay. On what basis would they say that the other platforms are better? If you can ask a specific question about that, I'll be happy to answer those questions. Yes. Otherwise, we can go on for a long time proving that my cat is whiter than your cat. Okay. And it is a never, it's not a winning element.
Okay. Let's do, before starting with the questions and other platforms, I would like to better understand how your calculation system works in detail and which features make it better than others.
Okay, let's start with understanding the entire space. If an individual is looking to analyze which platform should he follow in terms of Sharia compliance, I'm not going to say which platform is better. I'm just going to give out what are the key questions an investor should look at before selecting a platform. So it could be any platform, whether Islamically or others. We'll just go through the questions which are important or which should be the main goals through which you analyze yourself and then become a part of that platform. The first question always is in this space, and how institutional investors look at these kind of things, is the same principle as what we should also follow, is question number one: who is the Sharia authority behind the platform? The sub-questions around that is there a Sharia authority behind the platform? The second question behind that sub-question is, what is the experience of that Sharia authority in doing it? Then the third question also comes around, are they AAOIFI compliant? is a very big area where a lot of people are saying that they're all AOFI compliant. Then another question comes up is, what is the experience of the Sharia scholars on whom you're banking your trust on? So answering all of these questions, you have to first look at what kind of is the platform having a Sharia supervision, yes or no. If they have a Sharia supervision, then the second question that you have to look at is, what is the experience of the scholars who have come inside the Sharia board? We need to look at that. I'm not going to answer questions which are specific to our Sharia board, because I'm just giving out the formula as to through which you can analyze yourself. Obviously, if you're talking to me, I will say I am the best. If you're talking to somebody else, they will say they are the best. But let's look at the objective analysis as to how anybody can judge themselves as better than the other person. That's the key question I'm trying to put out. So the second part is, you have to look at the experience of Sharia scholars. What do I mean by experience of Sharia scholars? While all scholars are starting off at the same level, like how all doctors will start off at the same level by qualifying a particular examination, it is that some doctors get into some kind of specialization. Some chartered accountants would get into some kind of specialization. Some CFA holders will get into some kind of specialization. You probably do your post-graduation. You then probably go on to do your master's in philosophy. Then you probably go on to do your doctorate in philosophy, which is your PhD degree, and you specialize in a couple of things.
Yes.
So similarly, as a doctor is a doctor, but is he good for your heart? Is he good for your brain? Is he good for your eyes? Is he good for your skin? Is he good for your legs? A guy who is looking at, we're using very basic language, very basic language. A guy who is a specialist at, let's say, heart. If you tell him, can you have a look at my eyes and tell me if my eyes are working fine? Will he be able to give you the right advice? That's the question. So while all scholars are scholars, we understand and we all respect them. This is a specialized area. Islamic investments and Islamic finance is again a specialized area, wherein not only does a scholar need to understand the basics of the Sharia paradigms, the Sharia rules, which all scholars are very, very well versed with, and they are experts at that. The other element is the practical implementation of that in today's world.
Yes.
We all know that we are working in an environment which is not exactly designed in a Sharia manner. That the stock market is not designed in a Sharia compliant manner. The banking systems are not designed in a Sharia compliant manner. Within this environment wherein we are currently living, what is the possibility of implementing and what's the best way of implementing Sharia rules in the current environment? So that requires understanding the current economic ecosystem, understanding the current rules of finance in the realm of how it is in each country. That's the experience that I'm talking about from a Sharia scholar's perspective. So while they are scholars, did they first specialize in Islamic investment and finance? Even if they are specialized in Islamic investments and finance, are they experienced enough? So while a doctor may qualify his basic qualification, then he may go ahead and qualify for his master's program, let's say in heart. Okay, I'm not using the technical terms of what a heart doctor is called, because again, there are various bifurcations in that. You have qualified as a postgraduate and you're specialized in the heart. But a guy who has just qualified as a heart surgeon, for example, and a guy who was qualified 10 years back and has 10 years of experience in heart surgeries, there's a difference between these two. So you need to look at what kind of scholars are attached to a platform. Then the experience also comes in. The fourth level that I was talking about is the certification, or how people are referring to a centralized body, specifically in our area, which is the AOFI. Here is a very important thing I would like to emphasize. And I have said this in the past in my webinars as well, that while AOFI is definitely doing an amazing job in terms of standardizing all of the rules of Sharia in the space of existing economic environment, and they're creating very clear guidelines as to how a particular thing has to be treated. When it comes to equity screening, while the standard has given a lot, the standard on financial papers and bonds, standard number 21 of AOFI is the only applicable standard for all of our platforms for equity screening elements.
Exactly.
AOFI standard number 21, financial papers and bonds, has been published, if I'm not wrong, in the year 2004.
Yes.
From 2004, we are sitting in 2025. It has been 21 years that this standard has come in. The standard is a basic guideline. It is not a methodology. It is not a criteria. If there is a screening provider who says that I am following the AOFI standards of Sharia screening, my question to them is, can you build a methodology basis the AOFI standards? Based on my 17 years of experience working with asset managers and specializing in equity screening, the answer is a clear no. AOFI has given out the basic standards. They need to be enhanced by a corporation's own Sharia board. Like, for example, AOFI says the debt ratio of a company should not exceed 30%.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct.
Whereas in its methodology document, in its explanation, it says it should not increase by 1/3.
It is
1/3 is
33.
33.33.
Yes.
So there's a disconnect.
Difference.
There are so many sector exclusions, which are not explicitly mentioned in the AOFI standard. But most of those exclusions are being followed by the screening providers. On what basis? If you say you are AOFI compliant, then you have to stop at what AOFI says. Why are you taking it beyond? The AOFI compliance is not really a benchmark, because there is no such process. There is nothing which exists in respect of equity screening for Sharia compliance, wherein a sentence like I am AOFI compliant, I believe, has no meaning. And when you say that you are AOFI compliant, does it mean that AOFI has given you a certification that you are compliant?
No.
No. Let's say you get an ISO certification, ISO, which is a quality certification.
Yes.
If I say I am an ISO compliant organization, ISO needs to give me a certificate.
Yes.
I need to fulfill their requirement. If a screening provider says I am AOFI compliant, what is the proof of that?
There is no.
AOFI themselves do not give any certification. Yes, you can get a certification for this from your own Sharia board or a third-party Sharia board.
By using them.
Now, by using them, yes. Now, AOFI is not controlling the entire thing. They're not controlling it. But at the same time, you need to see, while AOFI is a standard setting body, the Sharia scholars have set the standards at the AOFI, inside AOFI. Are the Sharia scholars that I am working with also work with AOFI? If your Sharia scholar board is also part of the AOFI Sharia scholars board,
yes,
AOFI, then you can also say that I am AOFI compliant.
Yes.
Because you're using the same Sharia scholars.
Only Islamically have these kind of scholars.
I did not make that statement. You made that statement.
Yes. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, I can make the statement that our Sharia scholars are one of the founding members of AOFI. Our Sharia scholars, Islamically Sharia scholars, have been in the past and continue to be members of the AOFI Sharia board.
MashaAllah.
Let me also give you one more statement. the chairman of the AOFI Sharia board is a very highly respected scholar called Mufti Taqi Usmani. The vice chairman of the AOFI Sharia board for a longest time was a renowned scholar called Dr. Sattar Abu Ghudda. Dr. Sattar Abu Ghudda passed away during COVID. May Allah give him Jannah. He was also a part of the founding Sharia board of Islamically mother entity, which is Ratings Intelligence. So the vice chairman of AOFI Sharia board was a key member of our Sharia board for the past 20 years, since the year 2000 till the year 2020, till he passed away. The current chairman of the Islamically Sharia board, Dr. Muhammad Al-Ghari, he is a founding member of AOFI. He is or was a part of the board of trustees of AOFI. So he's in the governance council of AOFI in some way or the other. In addition to that, he is part of the AOFI Sharia board as well. More specifically, he is heading or was heading the Sharia Standards Committee of AOFI as well. So that's the scholarly credibility that Islamically brings to the entire thing. So looking at the question as to who are your Sharia scholars, whether you have a Sharia committee, the answer is yes. Who are your Sharia scholars? I have given you some answers. What is the experience of the Sharia scholars? I have given you a little bit of an answer around that. Let me also tell you the combined scholarships, the combined Sharia committee board positions that the Islamically Sharia board scholars have combined. If I have to tell you that it is more than 250 or 300 institutions in the world, which includes I'm saying I can only say currently includes the world's first Islamic bank, which is the Dubai Islamic Bank.
Yes, I know. MashaAllah.
So our Sharia board members are part of the world's first Islamic bank Sharia committee as well. They are part of the largest Islamic banks in the world. They are part of the Sharia boards of the largest asset managers in the world. They are part of the biggest Sharia indices producing companies of the world. They are also part of various international fatwa committees, like for example the International Fiqh Academy, which is part of the OIC. So they are also part of that Sharia board. So whatever is being put inside Islamically is governed by that kind of experience, by that kind of a scholarly thought, and of decades of research and decades of experience of working on the ground with various stakeholders, starting from Sharia indices, Islamic banks, Islamic insurance companies, Islamic asset managers, the Western asset managers who have Islamic portfolios, the Western banks who have Islamic products, the Western index providers who have an Islamic index. That's the entire experience chain of the scholars that are being presented in front of the audiences from the Islamically's stable. So the key element definitely is the Sharia board and what kind of experience they have in that. As you can see, Islamically, or I would say, since we are interchangeably using Islamically as well as the mother entity, which is called Ratings Intelligence, we have worked on such standards and such issues which have become industry standards. I mean, prior to about 2007 or 2008, there was no differentiation between a financial institution which is Islamic and a financial institution which is not Islamic. There was no such criteria defined as to how can we make a Islamic financial institution as Sharia compliant. It was our Sharia board which worked on that, and that has become a standard in the market. How do you analyze for insurance companies? How do you analyze for companies which are conventional earlier and wanting to transition to Islamic? In addition to about 600 business models over the past 25 years, comprising of hundreds of Sharia board physical meetings, has led to the research that we are currently producing in front of the public. I mean, very key elements. Let's say, what is the compliance of Apple?
Yes.
It can be very simple and straightforward, but at our end, at Islamically end, we go deep down into it. And we have a massive, what do I say, legacy of research that we have created, which is leading to, I would say, closer to accurate results. We cannot say accurate results because it is a deduction from the company's financials, and there's no confirmation on it from the company itself. If somebody says Apple's impure income is 4%, for example, is Apple confirming that yes, my impure income according to the standard is 4%? No, they're not confirming. It is the research teams of players like us who would compute this and come up with that number. And that's why I very carefully use the term close to accurate. For becoming 100% accurate, there should be confirmation. This is the way we think. This is the way we think from a governance perspective. While we can make wild statements that we are this or that, let's talk facts and then base our answers on the facts. While we are not here to say that we are better than others, or we are not saying that others are worse off than us. Every effort is welcome. Every effort teaches everybody else as to what is the new thing that we can present in front of the customers, and so on and so forth.
I agree with that.
The second element of what you should see in a screening provider is whether a screening provider is giving you definite answers, clear answers. If you are coming to a screening provider or a screening app or a screening platform, the first question you ask is whether a particular stock is compliant or non-compliant. So the screening provider's answer should be, this is compliant according to this methodology. This methodology has been approved by this Sharia board, and this Sharia board is in line with the AAOIFI standards. That's the chain. Like exactly how we say if this is a hadith of the Prophet, may peace be upon him, you need to also be able to tell what's the revelation chain. I mean to say, what is the chain of passage of this message? Then only it becomes an authentic hadith. Similarly, when you're producing a result, okay, it is based on these four factors that I mentioned. And in addition to that, it should be a clear yes or a no, because the methodology is clear. And there's a paradigm of Sharia as well, that when a question is asked to a Sharia scholar, the Sharia scholar needs to give a clear answer, basis his research, and give a clear yes or a no. If a screening provider is not giving compliant and non-compliant, they have something in the middle.
Doubtful, like.
Which, okay, you said it. Okay, I didn't say that. Doubtful, or there's another term, I believe, ambiguous or whatever it is. If we are giving that information, you already were in doubt, my friend.
Yes.
And you're paying a subscription to me, and I am also giving, yes, this is doubtful. Then what is the value I am giving to you? And what is the value of these scholars? What is the value of the methodology? What is the value of AAOIFI, which everybody is harping about? If you are good at what you do, if you are clear about what you are doing, if you have clear knowledge about what you are doing, then you can clearly come back and say yes or a no. Generally, people who have not have full knowledge will say maybe, maybe not. Okay. For example, if I ask you, is it going to rain today? You will say, first of all, it's the command of Allah through which rain happens. But there's a science also behind it. You will say, just looking at the clouds, maybe not.
I don't have knowledge.
But if you are an expert at weather prediction, you will clearly be able to say that there's a 90% chance it will rain. There's only 10% chance it may not rain. Correct?
Besides
If
knowledge.
I am a layman, I'm coming to you to ask. If you also say maybe, maybe not, then what's the point?
Yes.
Correct? The third level is, let me be very specific about this. The entire crux of Sharia equity screening is not to classify stocks as halal or haram. If you see on our platform, we rarely use halal and haram. Yes, in terms of marketing, our marketing teams sometimes go with what the consumers want. They will classify halal stock screening and so on and so forth. But in terms of our classification, we are not classifying things as halal or haram. We say it's compliant or non-compliant
Yes.
because
Understand.
all the stocks are conditionally compliant. The minute, the second any company is involved in an interest-based transaction, the company is not permissible for investment. But given the scenarios that we are living in, given the economic environment we are living in, given the business environment that we are living in, the Sharia scholars have used the principles of Sharia and come up with a conditional compliance process. That subject to these conditions, you can invest in these companies. They are not saying it is halal.
Only
Halal
compliant.
is something which is clearly given by God. Haram is something which is clearly given by God. Hence, we refrain ourselves by saying that A company is halal or B company is haram. But we clearly say that A company is compliant, B company is non-compliant. The second level of it is when we say A company is compliant, we give out the reasoning of that as well. The reasoning of that is not the financial ratios. There are two levels of screening. One is the business element, what the company does and from where it is making money. The second element is the financial ratios, right? Most of the screening providers will harp and give you the data about what the financial ratio is. It's a no-brainer for which if I am giving you the ratios, okay, it is of no use to you. Computing those ratios can be done using various screeners nowadays. The Sharia compliance is dependent on ratios, but that is not the key element of Sharia compliance screening. The key element of Sharia compliance screening and the hard work and the magic, the value in Sharia compliance screening is on the business sector screening, the level one, which apart from us, not many people are talking about. Like, for example, you need to understand a business model first, then apply the Sharia rules on it, and then come up with a consensus between the business model and the Sharia rules, and then give a compliance. Understanding a particular company's business model is important.
First of all,
And
yes.
we also understand that people do not want to invest and look at those things because it's very tough. You may say that you have 110,000 stocks that you are screening in the world. Let's assume 50% pass the ratios. That will also lead you to 55,000 stocks in the world. Is it humanly possible to put eyes onto the financial statements of these 55,000 stocks and come up with the research in let's say 2 years? For us, it has taken us 25 years to come to where we are. And we still are learning. We still go back to the Sharia board. We still convene Sharia board meetings. And we still are asking questions about this business model, that business model, A business model, B business model. That's the differentiator that is being created in the market. I mean, you can purport yourself to be a doctor, but there are various levels of doctors,
Yes.
right? That's the only example I give. Everybody is qualified, but there are layers and means of doing it. For example, there are cars and there are cars.
Thank you for.
You got my point? There's a passenger car and there's a luxury car like a Mercedes. And then there's McLaren, there is what do I say, Ferraris and Lamborghinis and so on and so forth. So we believe we are the Ferrari and the Lamborghini of the industry. We also believe that we are the Toyotas of the industry because we've been doing it for decades. We don't say that we are not saying that newer car companies like BYD or Tesla are bad, but they have a long way to catch up.
Got it.
You get my point? Now, I was coming to the second element, that screening is dependent on a conditional regulation given out by Sharia. What is that regulation? 5% threshold on impure income. What is impure income? Let's say alcohol, tobacco, pornography, advertising, whatever is defense, whatever is the exclusions given in each Sharia committee and each methodology. Having said that, computation of the impure income is the tough part in Sharia screening. That's where you require knowledge. That's where you need to get back to the Sharia board. Do I treat this revenue item as Sharia compliant? Do I treat this revenue item as non-compliant? And understanding that revenue item is more important. And given that computation, you come up with a purification ratio.
Yes.
If a screening provider says a particular stock is compliant, but does not give you purification number or a purification ratio, then the entire screening from a Sharia scholar's perspective is invalid.
They also mentioned, they also mentioned that calculation of the interest income and interest bearing assets, they said that they are better for this situation. What can you say about this?
Computation of interest income is automated. It's no brainer because data service providers like Reuters, Bloomberg, and all of FactSet, all of these guys will classify interest income and give you very clearly. That's not the critical element. Critical element is computing impure income, the 5% threshold, apart from the interest income, computing that. I'll give you an example, a good example. Amazon's revenue says that they get revenue from 3 key areas. Okay. Area number 1 is subscriptions. 2, it's Amazon Prime. Area number 2 is commissions that they make on selling the goods that they're selling on their platform. Area number 3 is they have the cloud services, AWS. And then there are insignificant revenue items like other income and so on and so forth. Subscription revenue is Sharia compliant. Commissions earning on selling of goods on the platform, which have a certain policy that you can't be selling things which are explicitly prohibited. Like Amazon doesn't sell alcohol. In certain areas they do. Let's say the Amazon Fresh markets which have opened up, in certain areas they might be doing it, but it is not a significant area. They are not promoting hugely any vice products, anything which is prohibited under the Sharia. They're not selling that hugely. Yes, tobacco as a product is what they do not sell usually. So essentially, we understand that the e-commerce marketplace that they have is selling stuff which is generally Sharia compliant, and they have a policy in terms of anti-pornography. Like you can't be displaying, if you, let's say you want to sell your headphone or something like that, you can't be having a model who's half naked or fully naked, whatever it is. They have these policies in place. So given those policies, we can reasonably be assured that the products being sold on the Amazon marketplace are Sharia compliant, are okay from a Sharia perspective. The third level is the cloud services, which is definitely Sharia compliant. There is no problems in that.
Yes.
Amazon should be Sharia compliant. Yes and no. We looked because we are researchers. We looked at Amazon, and then we found out that Amazon has a section which is called Amazon Prime Video. Amazon Prime Video is similar to and competing product to Netflix. Netflix is listed separately, and it is listed as a video streaming platform where they manufacture their own content as well, and they curate the content that is available. You can't post any content over there. It's a content which is owned by Netflix, and they're monetizing that, and it is in general entertainment. when general entertainment from a Sharia perspective is usually non-compliant, hence Netflix as a business is non-compliant. That principle should also apply to Prime Video, which is of Amazon. But they're not making any money from it.
Yes.
Subscriptions, sale of e-commerce products, and AWS. It's compliant. What happens to that Amazon Prime Video? It is a business of the company.
No.
Yes, it is a business of the company. Are they monetizing it? No.
No, monetize.
But it is a business of the company.
There is
How do we
an
analyze
income.
this? How do we analyze these situations? So we go back to the Sharia board. We went back to the Sharia board. We don't just go back to Sharia board and ask them a question. We prepare our research. We then found that Amazon has invested billions of dollars, billions of US dollars in creating the content of Prime Video. That means it is a significant operations for them. We go back to the Sharia board, and the Sharia board says the subscription element is what contains this service as well, but it is not priced directly. So 50% of the subscription revenue should be considered impure. That is the rule from Sharia. When you have mixed and you can't differentiate between the good and the bad, then you take 50% of it and consider it as fine, and the other 50% will be considered as not fine. We then apply that on Amazon and then come up with our result. Same thing with Apple as well. I will give you another example, which is of Visa and MasterCard.
Okay.
Every credit card will either have a Visa or a MasterCard logo, generally. For the longest period of time, our good friends thought that it is Visa which powers the credit card. Credit cards run on interest. No brainer. Don't apply your brain. It is non-compliant. We don't say that. We look into the business model of Visa. We look into the business model of MasterCard. And then we analyze that they are just pipes. They connect the customer, they connect the shopkeeper or the merchant, and they connect their bank and move money between them.
Only
for which they
commissions.
charge a standard fee, whether it is a debit, which is your own money, or it is a credit money, they don't care. In addition to that, we write to the managements of the companies to get a confirmation on the understanding that we have. So we've in the past written many times to Visa and MasterCard asking them whether you earn money from the flows that go in your business model. And they replied no. For that matter, in both Visa and MasterCard, they clearly write in their annual statement that we do not earn interest income on the volumes that we process. We do not
Only commissions.
we do not set interest rates. We do not set credits. We are not involved in that. It is the bank which does all of this, and it is the bank's revenue, and we are not involved in that. In spite of this, because they don't do the research probably, for the longest period of time, they were classified as non-compliant. But then when the customers started pushing each other, they made all of these platforms compliant. So they made Visa compliant, they made MasterCard compliant, they made American Express compliant because it is similar. Now here is the problem. American Express is not compliant. Because American Express says we are a bank as well. So American Express themselves lend money as well in certain countries. And they do earn interest on lending. So basis that, American Express is non-compliant.
It is understanding a business model.
So, yes, and understanding it from its financial perspective and understanding it from a Sharia perspective. Like understanding Amazon's subscription revenue is consisting of an impure income. Possible impure income is the financial understanding. Getting back to the Sharia board and getting a ruling on it, saying that you need to now apply the 50-50 rule and come to a compliance. That is the Sharia knowledge that goes into it. That's what gets out to the consumers on the Islamically platform. So the level of research which gets out to the customers on the Islamically platform is of a very, very differently manufactured, governed, quality analyzed, Sharia board reviewed details. It is not something which a guy like me, who's not a mufti or a scholar, can just go out and say that this is compliant, this is non-compliant. That's the differentiation. So yeah, purification as a process is the most important thing. And in my knowledge, I could see that people started giving out Sharia compliance information without giving the purification number to start.
Interesting. Yes.
Right? When that itself shows something is not right.
Purification I need.
For that matter, there is Sharia scholarly thought. There is some kind of Sharia scholarly thought which says the most important part of Sharia screening is purification. There is thought, there is talk and thought as well, which also says, let's not make anything non-compliant. Let's just make everything compliant and publish the purification ratio for all of those. So a bank which is interest-based will have a purification ratio of 100%. There's no point of investing in that bank. Correct?
Yes.
There could be companies which are having more than 5% impure income and they're classified as non-compliant, but they're doing decent business. They're not into pornography. They're not into pork. They're not into any explicit halal. They're not into alcohol, and so on and so forth. But they do fail because they do have interest income or they do have impure income, which is above the 5%. Let those companies be investable as well if the investor is purifying the impure income. That means purification is the most important part of Sharia compliance screening. Now, what is Islamically giving? Inshallah, our next release will give you, if you invest in a stock, link your portfolio to Islamically, it becomes a complete co-pilot. So it monitors your portfolio for compliance. It gives you alerts when the compliance changes. It also automatically computes, given all your portfolio, what your purification number is, not the ratio. So at the end of the year, you are clearly know that, okay, if my portfolio is worth 1,000 US dollars, my purification is $10. My purification is $9. No ratios, no computation, no dates. It's all automatic. It takes into account all Sharia considerations and it gives you the exact value as to what is the purification. So that also tells you which screening provider you should go to. The screening provider who gives you, who has a credible Sharia board, who gives you clear details on whether a stock is Sharia compliant or not, doesn't leave anything to in the middle. Third, which gives you purification number. And the fourth is the technology such that it gives you a hassle-free experience. Because computing all of these things is not possible. And inshallah, we will also be coming up with what is your zakat implication on your portfolio. Straight away calculation, which will tell you your zakat on $1,000 portfolio is $2. It will tell you exactly. There's no need for computing.
All of them.
That's what Islamically is.
Yes.
Yes. That's what Islamically is, and that's what in short, no, in long, what equity screening is all about. If you look at the processes that we have a process which has been approved by the Sharia board, and this process has stood the test of times. Our screening data gets into more than 500 Islamic portfolios, asset manager portfolios. Our screening data is linked to billions of dollars of Islamic assets, not millions, billions, and not only 10 billion, 10 billion plus. I can reasonably say it's 50 billion plus, but I don't want to make heavy statements. And it is from the thought perspective that this superior research This hard work of the Sharia scholars of decades, not years, of decades, is only getting into funds, and people like you and me, individuals, were not getting benefited out of it. That's when we said, let's create an app and put our 20 plus years of research information backed by decades of research, and combined is more than 100 years. Research should get to the consumer at 0.1% of the cost, not 1%, at 0.1%. That's what Islamically is all about, and that's our mission, to give accurate, clear, and Sharia compliant data directly to the consumers. And that is the reason Islamically as a platform is probably the only platform which is interactive. That means we clearly open a forum where you can ask questions and we respond. We have received more than 10,000 questions, and we've answered those 10,000 questions. All answers are backed by fatwas of the Sharia board. If there's a question which has not been asked to the Sharia board, we will reply that we have not asked this to the Sharia board, and we will get back to the Sharia board and come back to you. And we've done that in the past as well. The second, we also allow challenge to Sharia compliance of each stock. So if you go to Apple and you go below it, this discussions area, you can challenge that compliance. Think that, why is Apple compliant? Our research team will respond on that and give the reasoning as well. Which other screening provider has that capability? Why do we do it in the first place? We do it in the first place is because we are confident of our research. Two is we are also human. We also understand that there are thousands of stocks and there could be multiple layers of information that people might have, and we might not have received that. So we keep it open so that they can push that information to us and we can analyze it. And if at all we have not considered that, we will consider that and update the compliance.
Got it.
So I'm just not saying what I'm saying. We are walking the talk as well, as we say. That when I am confident of my screening, I open it up for challenge as well.
Abdul Hadi, thank you for all the information about your stuff, and now we can learn it more Islamically. And I hope that our colleagues and team members also see the differences between others. And I also had a question, but you all gave the information about your system and solved the problem. I appreciate it. Okay, we will translate that, and I give my team members more than 2,000, and they also, I hope that like me, they also follow this and working and trading with the Sharia standards exactly.
No worries. Thank you for your time as well. If you have any other question, you can definitely get in touch with our customer support, and they'll be more than happy to answer.
Bu videodan xulosa olishdan oldin siz kimgadir ergashib emas, balkida ma'nolariga ahamiyat bergan holatda qabul qilishingizni xohlagan bo'lardim. Ya'ni nima deyapti bu odam? Haqiqatda ishchilari, auditorlari, maslahatchilari necha yillik tajribaga ega, AAOIFI standartlaridan o'tishadimi, tekshiruv qanday degan ma'nolarini to'liq gapirilgan, Purification system qanday ishlashligi haqida, qanday kompaniyalarni halol deb olishligi haqida, bularni advisorlari qancha tajribaga ega ekanligi haqida, shularni to'liq tushuntirgan shaxsan o'zlari. Shunday ekan, siz bu odamni kimligiga qarab ergashishni emas, balkida aynan nima deyotganini tushungan holatda xulosa qilishingizni xohlagan bo'lardim. O'zi kam sonli aksiyalar bilan halol kompaniyalar bilan ishlaydigan odamlar bor. Shularning orasida ham ixtilof kelib chiqishidan oldin olgan holatda AAOIFI standartlari, ya'ni butun dunyo islom ulamolar kengashi tomonidan qo'yilgan bizga standartlar o'zi ko'p emas. Bu haqida ham video chiqadi. 4 ta 5 ta standartdan yaxshi o'tsa, bu kompaniyaga investitsiya qilish joiz. Agarda nojoiz faoliyati qismi qanchadir foiz bo'lsa, buni zakot yokida Purification, ya'ni tozalash orqali chiqarib yuborish kabi maslahatlar mavjud. Faqatgina shularni qilib, birgalikda Amerika fond bozoridan daromad qilishlik kerak bo'ladi xolos. Bu programmani obunasi pullik, yillik hozirda $200 turadi menimcha. Obunasini olish, qanday qilib portfelga o'rnatish va qanday qilib to'liq bu programmani ishlatish bo'yicha video chiqarishim mumkin. Albatta talablarga bog'liq. Xulosanglar va bu haqida talabinglarni izohlarda yozib qoldirsanglar va albatta описаниеda Telegram bor. Telegramni kuzatib borsanglar, biz aktivroq aynan Telegramda ishlaymiz. Video chiqqanda ham Telegram kanaliga ma'lumotini yuboramiz, xudo xohlasa. O'zlari ehtiyot qilinglar. Ko'rishamiz.